Hey guys, so today I want to talk about the turning point which made me go from going and continuing with my eating disorder to turning around and going, I actually want to beat this. This is really personal and I find it really difficult to talk about, so if I'm a bit slow, please just take your time to watch this. So for those who don't know, I play basketball. I think everyone practically should know that by now. I'm obsessed with basketball. I played basketball since I was 13 and I'm turning 18 in April. So it's a long time and it's been a massive part of my life. I don't know how to word this, so give me time. I've struggled with an eating disorder for years now, and it's always been quite a difficult thing for me to deal with. At the start of my eating disorder, I had no intentions to recover. Even when my doctors and my psychiatrist found out, I had no intention to recover. Now I look back on it, and for me, because only my dad knew, my mum didn't know about anything until she was actually told by someone I know, and she found out and she rang my dad, and my dad had to tell her everything that was going on, that I was seeing a psychiatrist, I had these problems. My mum found out, and a week after she told my basketball coach. She said to me she had to tell him because at the time I was on antidepressants, I was severely underweight, and it was quite dangerous what I was doing, playing such a high intensity sport, and also because I was self-harming, and she had to tell him. Bearing in mind my coach is in his 70s, I felt really embarrassed. The weekend after, so I go to basketball on Thursday. At the weekend we had a game, and I remember distinctively he took me to the side at that game. He didn't speak to me at the training session, my mum told him, and he took me aside in the game beforehand and he said, at some point we're going to have to talk about your issues. He said it in a very calm, serious tone. At that point I started to feel quite sick and scared. The game and the week after I was back at training, and I thought, I have to do this. I have to go up to him and say, can we talk about it now? I went up to him and I was like, can we talk? He took me aside so we could have the private conversation, and he was talking to me, and I remember him saying he knew I had depression. He'd already worked that out from my self-harm he'd seen. He worked out I had an eating disorder because of my changing weight, and he'd noticed that I wasn't really eating. And previously at a game I had had a panic attack, and I'd been struggling with my energy levels because I hadn't eaten before the game, and he'd noticed then that there was an issue with food. He was really nice about it, and for me that was my turning point. He'd explained he'd had previous players which had eating disorders, because for those who don't know, eating disorders in sport is quite common because of the ideal weight, etc., and diets for elite athletes. And he told me that I was a great player and how much more of a better player I would be if I gained the weight, gained the muscle when I recovered. We also spoke about the fact he'd spoken to his side coach. I'd already spoken to the side coach and told him what I was struggling with, because I thought one of my coaches is quite a lot younger than the other, and I thought I'll approach the younger one so at least one of them knows if anything ever occurs in a game, at training, when my parents aren't there. And for me, him talking to me, he was my coach is still such an influential person to me. His opinion means a lot. He's always been there for me. He's been great. And the fact that he's quite old, but he's also very understanding, because the thing for me, I was quite scared about how he would react. Most older people don't get mental illnesses. They're quite judging about it. So for him to be very supportive, and he, with my depression as well, he said he just wanted to help and was always positive. He is known as quite a loud, shouty coach on the court, and one thing he said to me was, did I want him to stop yelling at me and screaming at me when I was playing? Did that make me feel shit? And I just remember him saying no, because for me that's how I improve. I need someone to tell me you're playing shit. I can't have someone that's like, oh yeah, you're doing really well, when I'm not. So that for me was my turning point, was telling someone I really trusted, whose opinion meant a lot to me, because he is like a family member to me. He's like my granddad. That's how I see him. Him and his family is so great. They're all great people, and I don't really talk about this to many people because it gets me quite emotional, because I'm currently not playing basketball. So that for me was my turning point. I just thought I'd get it out there and talk about it. For those who haven't really found their turning point yet, I think opening up to certain people, some people do dance, maybe talking to dance teachers. I think talking to someone whose opinion means a lot actually really turns you and makes you want to recover. My parents, I couldn't do it for them, I couldn't do it for my little brother, but I knew I wanted to do it for my basketball. And the fact I've given so much into that sport, and I wanted to do it because my coach has taken so much of his own time to help me like improve with my sport, etc. And I think sort of the message I'm trying to send out there to people is just use your passions as a way of finding a turning point to make you want to recover, because unless you find that will to want to recover, you're not going to recover. And I found that, and that's what keeps me going now. Even after 2 years of not playing basketball, that is the one thing that keeps me going, because I know that when I go to university, that is what I want to do. And in the future, that is what I want to do. I want to coach people, I want to be involved in the sport. So yeah, open up to people and just use what you love as a way of recovering.